It also involves the water.
We need to be able to fight while we're wet. We're teaching Marines how to survive in the water with all of their combat equipment so that they can carry the fight onto land.
Some of these recruits are just now learning how to swim. At this pool, they are taught how to operate in water, wearing a full load of combat gear and carrying a 7-pound M16 rifle.
Young recruit standing there, never been in water over his head for the first time, loaded down with 45 pounds of equipment, is told to step off a 3-meter tower into 12 feet of water, and he doesn't.
Not everyone is tough enough to make it through this kind of training. The boot camp dropout rate is about 11%. The Marine Corps knows that it is part of a weeding out process that determines who has what it takes.
We must be prepared to fight, as our hymn says, in any clime or place. And we are. We fought in the desert, we fought in the jungles, we fought in cities and towns. We're ready to fight anywhere. The challenge to our training is trying to replicate, to the greatest degree possible, this diverse environment. Day, night, hot, cold, wet, dry, doesn't make any difference.
If soldiers have to be ready for every type of terrain, they also need to be ready for every type of weapon. Since the beginning of the 20th century, combat training has included preparing for chemical warfare. Soldiers in World War I first began learning to put on gas masks to deal with German nerve gas. During the 1940s, American GIs continued this kind of training. The increasing use of chemical weapons today has made this combat skill an even more important part of modern Marine combat training.
You can't fight in combat blind. So one of the things we try to do is try to take their attention away from those effects that's going on with it. Because if they come into contact with a simple agent like this, and next thing you know they can't perform their job properly, that's a large problem to us.
At the Camp Pendleton Marine Base in Southern California, every recruit is subjected to chemical weapons training. 20 men at a time are exposed to CS gas, a non-lethal but extremely irritating substance. It stings the skin, the eyes water uncontrollably, and breathing becomes almost impossible. This kind of training is more than just instructing the proper way to use a simple protective apparatus. It teaches a person the ability to control the urge to panic under stress. No army had more discipline and self-control than that of ancient Rome. The Roman legions managed to rule the world by brute force, superb tactics, and a fighting mentality that had been cultivated during extremely tough training.
It was said of the Roman army that their exercises were bloodless wars, and their wars bloody exercises. It's because they had the essence of combat training. They knew that in order to train a soldier to fight as part of a team against an often valiant, overwhelming enemy, they had to teach them with all the realism possible. Unfortunately, most of the images we have of the Roman army and the way in which they may or may not have trained come from Hollywood spectaculars and the ways in which they portray that. We don't have a lot of evidence of the specifics of training, except that it obviously involved a heavy physical component, which was, yes, running, lifting, but also a very mental component to prepare yourself to work as part of a well-oiled machine.
The Romans were fanatical about physical fitness. Their army became legendary for its tireless ability to march and to fight.
The Romans actually had physical training. They made them run. You did not see a fat Roman soldier. And of course those soldiers that didn't seem to be able to undergo the strict physical training they had would be punished, literally beaten at times.
The Romans trained for and perfected the use of the phalanx, a formation of massed infantry troops bunched tightly together, with their shields and spears overlapping.
For 1,000 years, their military system was the wonder of the world because the way